Thank you everyone for coming along to this YESI International Fellows presentation. My name is Peter Ball. I'm not Amelia, but I will introduce Amelia. Amelia, it's wonderful to have you here from Ghana. Wonderful to be doing research with you. And I don't want to spend too much time getting in the way between the start of the session and you. So I'll hand over in just a minute. Just for the people who are watching online, we will keep an eye on the chat from as we go along, but I might not be able to answer questions or field the questions during the presentation, but we'll see if we can do that. But Amelia will present, and then we will open up for questions. And there are a number of people in the room. Many of us have been working with Amelia. It's been a delight working with you, so we're all enthusiastic to hear about our project, but it's your project as well. So formally, Dr. Amelia Darko-Adzima, thank you very much for the participation on this YESI Fellows, and thank you very much for joining us in the UK. I think I just need to hand over to you and to leave you to tell us about interdisciplinary research on leafy green supply chains in Kumasi, Ghana.
I think my professor did a very good introduction, so I don't need to do much more. But I'm from Ghana, and the other names are Darko and Adzima. So I'm Amelia Darko-Adzima. And we are looking at interdisciplinary research on leafy green supply chains in Kumasi, Ghana. I think we'll look at the interdisciplinary bit very soon. Okay, I am a lecturer. I've been lecturing with Kumasi Technical University for 13 years and counting. I've been with the procurement and supply chain management department all as well. Yeah, I've been teaching and also looking at project supervision all these years. Quite recently, I've been really jumping from department to another department, trying to really do something with other colleagues in other departments. So these are some recent work I have done. Before yesterday, I was selected for a prestigious 6-month online mentorship program on sustainability by Tullow Oil Ghana. It's an oil company in Ghana, and this program aimed to educate stakeholders on the latest sustainable practices within the oil industry. Whilst in the mentorship program, I found the YESI advert and contacted Professor Ball to see if we could do something in Africa. And he was very enthusiastic, looking at the fact that he hasn't done collaborations in Africa. He decided to just give it a go, and here we are with the Leafy Greens program. When I have a lot of time, apart from teaching, I'm an entrepreneur in sales and marketing. I own a business with my family. And then again, I have this mental a foundation where we do a lot of advocacy online and do philanthropy when we have the time. We could be found on this website, www.willamajima-foundation.org. Anybody can look at our work and see if they can help by writing with us or by helping with the philanthropy bit. So we are looking at food systems, and we are talking about how food systems are quite complex, very complex. So we have this pictorial diagram from the sources from GOE and UNEP. Yeah, so we are talking about food systems, and they are quite complex. And whilst yes, it looks at sustainability, we thought this diagram was quite appropriate. We have, when we look at sustainability, we have the economic side, we have the social side, and then we have the environmental bit, all combining into sustainability. Now, we are looking at vegetables, leafy greens, so we have farming, and these are some inputs, water, seed, energy, sunlight, chemicals, the know-how, and labor. We look at the economic system, and then we are looking at food, money, wholesalers, we are looking at these, angles. We look at the political system, and of course, we are looking at policies and regulations. The social system, we find demand and supply. We look at food culture, education, access to food, food security, and what have you. And we look at health, we are looking at health system, is the food good enough? Do we have enough food to feed everybody? So we are looking at food security and food safety. Then the biological system, we are looking at biodiversity, climate change. We are looking at land use restoration and then animal waste as well and how they are used. This also looks at a typical food supply chain. We are looking at agriculture, land and soil, groundwater. Yes, so this food systems are complex in a way that we have so many networks. We have so many areas coming together to ensure that we have a sustainable food system. We have a sustainable food system. This is a simple supply chain. Our research is looking at supply chains. So from research, this is a simple supply chain. We put together a supply chain, basically, some people call the food system synonymous with a supply chain. It's looking at networks as well, from where we get food we are eating. First of all, just had sandwich, we had someone with milk here. So how did the milk get to us? So it's from a supplier through a manufacturer, through distributors, and then retailers, stores, hawkers, and what have you. And then we talk about regulation as well. We talk about chemical use, other parties, NGOs, and finally, consumers. So this really shows a simple supply chain. Now, this is the Kumasi supply chain. We're looking at vegetables. Lettuce, cabbages, carrots, and spring onions. We were comparing what UK was eating to what Ghana was eating, and these were what we found as we compared vegetables we were eating. So this is the Kumasi vegetable supply chain. So through farmers, and that's the farmers, if you see the plantation, they are beautiful vegetables. People turning university lands into farming. And then we have distributors, the bigger ones who go to the farms for the vegetables. And then we have other retailers as well. Some people hawk it on their heads. We have some others selling between streets and what have you. And then, yes, in this supply chain, we have the major distributors at the market, where we find market women, primarily women, doing the marketing in this section. When you go to the vegetable farming, we found out that there was a lot of men who were into the farming. I think our earlier observations was because these farming was very labor intensive. And it was men who were doing it primarily. So this is the Kumasi vegetable supply chain. So our leafy green, as I said, it aimed to really look at and foster sustainable, resilient, and secure food systems. Why leafy greens in the first place? And literature from WHO continues to focus a lot on food security in African communities, and Ghana is no exception. Most communities are food insecure and cannot afford vegetables and fruits to make up their daily nutritional intake. So we said, why not? Yes, he's doing something on sustainability. We could look at food sustainability and then narrow it down to the vegetable supply chain. Yes, so why focus on Kumasi? That was the case study area. We focused on Kumasi. Kumasi is an urban area in Ghana. Kumasi is the second largest city in Ghana. It is found in the south central part of Ghana. It has a lot of greens, more forest areas. When you go to the urban areas, Kumasi does a lot of farming. They do a lot of farming. And then we decided to, it's an interesting place to be. The weather, it's all right. We decided to choose Kumasi and do a lot of research in vegetable farming. When you go to Accra, urban agriculture is much more prominent, but we decided to look at Kumasi, who was coming up with new ways of farming vegetables. Yes. Also, as I said, the commonality in vegetables, UK was using cabbages. Although the cabbage has a lot of diversity, you know, yes, we know of one species in cabbage, but the UK has a lot, but still we're eating cabbages, carrots, lettuce and spring onion. So we decided to take those, yes, as areas. So Kumasi is also the capital of the Ashanti Empire. I think it's history, where traditionally it has been the place for the people called the Ashantis. So yeah, we decided to focus on Kumasi. Had a lot of interesting points to look at when we were looking at Kumasi. Yeah, so in the earlier slides, one of the earlier slides, we were talking about interdisciplinary. And this is because we have a team of 7, with all of us having very diverse, very new areas. We have Dr. Alana in biology. We have Dr. Ariadne, social marketing, Professor Bo from operations management, Dr. Enrique has a background in sociology, and myself and Meshach, supply chain management, and then we have Professor Fosu, who has been doing a lot of work in food science. So we have different areas. When you come to the countryside too, we have Alana from Brazil. And then we have Ariadne from Greece. Professor Wall is British, and Dr. Enrique is from Austria. And then the 3 are from Ghana. So it's quite wide with different cultures, with different ideas. We decided to be in a team and try and put this research together. So working as a diverse team, it was fun. We found each of us trying to eat the food from each other's country. We tried to listen to the languages that we spoke. Luckily, all of us speak English. So it was so fun, but trying to learn the cultures across all these countries has been fun. We've had challenges, but I think the challenges hasn't been too difficult. As I said, it's just culture-wise. We all speak English, but it has been fun working together. We all have a shared passion for sustainability and innovation. So it has been great working together. And we hope after this program, we still intend to hold this team and do more as time goes on. Yes. Data collection and analysis. Now, data was collected using semi-structured interviews by the Ghana and the York team. We had a York team coming together. Ghana, actually, the research wanted to do a comparison between Ghana and the UK, but time constraints and the fact that we had a lot of data to collect in Ghana, we decided to focus on Ghana. And if Yesi gave us something more, we could look at the comparisons along the line. The questionnaire looked at structured interviews, and these interviews was translated into Twi. Twi is the widest language that is spoken in Ghana. We had to do a transcription of the English questionnaire into Twi, so that we could reach these farmers, we could reach these distributors well, we could reach these retailers, and get them to give us the information that was needed. In all, 46 interviews were recorded with farmers, logistics, markets, governments, and then agrochemical industries. Now on ethics, I think it was very, very important to us. In Ghana, when you are 18 years, then it means you are on your own, you can do a lot of things, you are not a minor anymore. So we made sure that we didn't collect data for minors. We didn't collect data for minors, which was very interesting for us. Very, very interesting, because we wanted this research to be ethically, we wanted to go the ethical way, make sure that we were not flouting any rules, and then we were doing this quite well. Although in some other areas like cocoa farming, we have people who are using their children in cocoa farms, but companies who are buying are making sure that we are really using the right kind of labor, making sure there are no human rights abuses. So these things are being looked at by the government. So ethically, we make sure that we use people who are 18 years plus old for the interviews. We haven't analyzed data yet. We are looking at analysis right now. We are trying to code interview responses by using a software known as Target as we speak. So we haven't done, we are not done with data as such yet. So these are our initial observations from the coding we have done, or from the data collection we took. So we have a lot in here. You're going to take these supply chain actors one after the other and look at the initial observations we have. So when you go to the farms, who are the suppliers of these vegetables? We found a lot. Firstly, they had pride in the quality of vegetables they were producing. They had a lot of pride in that. These vegetables are beautiful. I can eat it all day. They had a lot of pride in the farms that they were working on. Now the issue had to deal. One issue had to do with land. They had no land rights. The farmers that we saw were working on university land. So they had no land rights, and that was one of their biggest problems. They were saying, if we could have our own land, then I think the money we are making could be good enough. But they have no land rights. The university can tell you, we want to build something here, and you need to pack and move. So these are some of the things we observed. And then we talked about fast payment. Now, the farmers, as soon as the vegetables are done, these distributors come in, these market women come in and take and buy from them. Sometimes they are paid just on the spot. Other times, they know these women, they know these distributors, so they could give it to them on loan basis. Yes. And then we look at finances. I think they were complaining of financing, actually, not financing. How could some organizations, how can they fund us so that we could extend, or we could make sure these lands are big enough to feed a lot of people, to feed our families? So we talked about financing. We talked about contamination sometimes. Water safety, the water that they are using, is it good enough? Is it good enough? We looked at that. I think, at the university farms, the university had rivers passing through the university somehow. Some were using it, some were closer to these rivers, so it was all right. Some were not, so they were, collecting rainwater for their farming. Yes, that had some contaminants, yes. We also, looked at compliance. Are these farmers following any rules? Are they following any standards? Are there any regulations? And in the university, I think they have now decided to look at regulations, to really bring all the farmers together and make sure the farmers are complying to the rules or to the, what the university wanted them to do. But as of now, they were working individually in the, and then the bigger regulation, well, what are the policies? We didn't really go into policies, but we really didn't find a lot of government regulation regarding these vegetable farms in Kumasi. We had to speak to a few friends, Ala Yasi, fellows who were looking at land use, urban agriculture, and they were talking about regulation, where Accra had these cooperatives. Kumasi had no cooperatives. There was a lot of individualism with the farmers. And so, the problems were just individual, coming for individuals. There were no cooperatives, there were no farming groups. So there were issues there. If they had cooperatives, I think one or a few of them told us there are cooperatives, but they are not working. They are not working as well. Yes. We talked about fair prices. Are these farmers, are these suppliers getting fair prices? Most of them said they weren't getting fair prices. They weren't getting fair prices. Because these edibles, they get spoiled easily. They get spoiled easily. So when the distributor comes, when the market woman comes, when the person who is taking the bulk comes, they rather dictate prices. They rather dictate prices, and prices weren't fair enough. We are still analyzing data, and these are just our initial observations. Now, when we go to distributors, we are looking at a lot of waste from these distributors, all because they are unsold. The market has no cold storages, no bigger storages for vegetables. So at some point, if people buy and the rest are unsold, then it goes to waste. They give it to animal rearers to just give it to the animals. They said they weren't selling the rest of the vegetables, which wouldn't be fair on any distributor or any market woman who has gone in to buy from these suppliers. Yes. So we are talking about fair prices. If they are sold, what do they do? We talk about retailers, people who are buying from these big women, buying from these big companies, and how do they also do it? If they are unsold, it also goes to waste. The vegetable market hasn't got any exports. We grow to eat ourselves, as I said. So we don't have cold systems. We don't have places where these people can really keep these vegetables for a longer time until they go to waste. We talked about communication along the supply chain, along between these farmers, distributors, retailers. There were a lot of communication breakages or a lot of communication that wasn't going well. But farmers had the numbers, phone numbers of the distributors. As long as the vegetables are ready, they use phones to call these distributors. And I think they could do more if there were cooperatives. It could just be other communication channels to use for these supply chain. So there were communication barriers as well. Yeah, we talk of provenance, we talk about seedlings, we talk about as I said, imports, they are not exported, and importation of other seedlings are causing a few issues along the chain, especially carrots. Yes, that is what we found. Carrots are having some issues. We found the issue of when farmers were saying these seedlings are coming from Morocco instead of what they are having. So that they didn't, there was issues because the seedlings from Morocco was giving fruits that were very huge and big and beautiful. And the ones that we had in Mampong, a suburb of Kumasi, people weren't buying because they weren't big enough, they weren't nice enough, they go to waste faster and all that. So seedlings as well and all these. Now there was the issue of education. If someone could just put us all together and educate us further, we are going to have more beautiful food, we are going to have more fruits and vegetables, or we are going to have more vegetables that are going to really last longer with education. And then we had issue with agrochemicals, training and the use of agrochemicals. We found out that there were a lot of supervised use of agrochemicals. And there was issues. The market women, the retailers, the suppliers said, if we do not use chemicals, we are not going to get the yield that we have to. So there should be some chemical use, but how is it regulated? How is it regulated? There were no special regulations for these agrochemicals. So these are our initial observations. These are our initial observations. I want to pause here and see if.
I mean, I just find it fascinating about the hours of the markets, and the role of women in those markets. If you could say a bit more about that, I think it was fascinating because it's so different from UK.
Yes, so these market women are very hardworking in Africa. You find women that are very hardworking. So you find these women, we find out that they go to the market as early as 4 a.m. As early as 4 a.m., stay there, sell vegetables for a while, and then leave around 3 p.m., 4 p.m. So these markets open early, and these market women go back home late as well. As I said, they are very hardworking women in Africa. They most of them really push for the household to be okay, to really survive. Not that the men are not working, but these women would want to also add to what the man is bringing to the house. So these women really worked some very long hours to make sure that they are contributing their quota to what the home was getting. Yeah, so we have early conclusions. We are still coding data, we are still putting data together. And some of our early conclusions looked at the urgent need for better knowledge and training in growing these grains. Yes. So, there was the need for training, even with vegetable, with, chemical use as well. There was a need for training. How do we get the seedlings? How do we make our beds? How do we get these vegetables from this? How do we make sure diseases are not infecting these plants? So there was a need for knowledge and training in growing these grains. That's one of our early conclusions. And there is the opportunity to reduce waste and promote or increase income for all. There's a lot of waste along the supply chain from the farmers and through the distributor and to the retailers. So there is the need to reduce waste and increase income for all along the supply chain. Now, they were talking about financial support to address these systematic issues, including storage. How are we, is the government going to provide storages along the supply chain? There is the need for financial support. There is a need for financial support. Who's going to bring in the finances? Is it the government? Do we have external funding? But there need to be huge storage facilities along the supply chain so that these vegetables can be kept well and sold well, farmers getting fair prices and all that, and waste reduced to the barest minimum. Now, whilst we saw early conclusions of challenges, there was a need also, or there was the issue of people growing more vegetables because of the fact that more medical organizations were promoting the need for people to eat vegetables. So there was a lot of people going into vegetable farming. And although some farmers weren't getting fair prices, there were people who were saying, yes, when I grow that, my family eats, I pay my fees, everything. There was something in there. And when we do urban agriculture, we are looking at the environment as well. We are looking at climate. We are looking at the ozone layer. There are so many big structures going on, and plants are being cut down almost every time. So if these urban agriculture is promoted, vegetables, one of them, we are really preserving climate. We are also talking about health advantages and all that. It's very, very important for the sustenance of the food system and the climate as well in Kumasi. By addressing these, we aim to create a more sustainable and resilient supply chain for leafy greens in Kumasi. Yes. So please, we could have some questions.
I think we need to applaud. Dr. Amelia Darko Nzima, that was really interesting. Myself and other members of the team here, and if I can just make a personal observation on all of the results that you've been presenting before we open it up for questions. The rest of the team might want to put their observations in. But I came with the eyes of somebody from the UK, from the global north, into your country, and I had all these assumptions about how your food system works. And I think for me, the only things that were the same are your farmers grow vegetables and your people eat food. Our farmers grow vegetables, our people eat the food. But virtually everything, and you haven't got much time to present all the detail, but virtually everything in between that is so different. And we make lots of assumptions. I make lots of assumptions about what could go on in Ghana. And virtually all of them were wrong. And it's been fascinating working on it, and you've only had time to present sort of the surface of what we found out. So, no, it's really interesting.